Okay. All right. So we're gonna blame one communication.
100%.
So the R1 communication is down, but we're back. We're able to be back, and I'm joined here by Senator Marise James. And before we went down, I read the press release from the Department of Human Services, and we want to discuss. Senator James was saying, what happens to those families that rely on the food stamps. And so for the listening audience, what's happening is the federal government has to pass a budget by October 1st so that the government can function. And in national politics, there's been this gridlock and the Republicans and the Democrats can't agree. People are holding out. On the Democratic side, they're holding out for some health care benefits. On the Republican side, they're like, oh, we want to cut programs, we want to cut benefits, we want to cut whatever it is they want to cut. They're arguing. And when you have the big political parties arguing, when elephants fight, the grass to get trampled.
Sure.
And this is what's happening. And so as a result, for everybody that does not know, the EBT program, the SNAP program, is a fully funded federal program. There is no local component to the SNAP program, to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. There is no local funding attached to it. This is a completely federal program. All the money that comes in, all of the payments that are made to the grocery stores and to the convenience stores and to anybody else who accepts the SNAP, those places, they are reimbursed. You going?
Yeah.
Okay. They are reimbursed by the federal government completely. They ain't have any local dollars. And so, in light of all of that, there was I think a 10th or 11th attempt yesterday to pass a balanced budget, and they could not reach an agreement, and the House Speaker sent home Congress for the weekend, and they're going to reconvene, come back to Washington on Monday, and hopefully they would, cooler heads would have prevailed.
Right.
And what's going to happen, I think, is that as these Congress people head back to their districts, they're going to feel the pulse of their community, because our politics local. So if you come in home and I am hearing that my food stamp gain is not going to be replenished on the 1st, I am going to press you in my congressional district to go back to Washington and say, hey, the people in my congressional district need their groceries, their groceries.
Right.
So I'm hoping, and maybe I'm being a little bit too optimistic, but I'm hoping that when they return to Washington next week, that they can reach to some consensus.
Yeah, I am
okay.
hopeful too, because there are also people who are not getting paid. It's
Yes.
not only the food stamp recipients, but it's also federal workers who are home and not being paid. So they also, especially if they're living paycheck to paycheck, they're also in that same dilemma.
Yeah, and they found money they said that they found money for the to pay the troops and for whoever else he wants to pay.
They always find money to pay the troops.
Yeah.
I was in the military.
Yeah.
I went through these
Plenty
situations.
shutdowns.
Yeah, and I never missed a paycheck, but I was active duty.
Mm-hmm.
The ones who are military technicians, that's a different situation for them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get paid.
Okay.
You understand? So
Yeah.
when they say the troops, they really mean the active duty.
So
Right.
I'm hoping that we get to a resolution, but when we went down and the people couldn't hear us, you were talking about knowing the amount of people who are in the territory on the program,
Yeah.
and trying to find out whether or not what can be done. And so what are some of your thoughts?
Well, first of all, this is a good example of how tied to federal funds we are, and that our own, you said, you made a good point. Do we have reserves in the general fund to give people emergency food stamps? Some states would, There are some states that have mechanisms where they have reserves where they can fill the gap for people. they also have organizations that will fill that gap.
They have true nonprofits.
They have
They have
real,
true nonprofits.
That's exactly right.
We don't. We have here in the territory people who create nonprofits that say that they're doing certain things, and there's so many nonprofits, but you don't see so many of them filling. We have a few good ones, but we don't have enough. And so there are places in the States such as food banks. You can go to food banks and get and get groceries. And to your point, we are, uniquely yoked with federal dollars.
And also the fact that we don't have what most people think we do. They think some people when I'm out in the public, they say things like, you need to fix that road, you need to do this, you need to do that, without realizing that, well, there's money, there's a cost to doing everything. There's a cost to, I want money, even nonprofits. I'd like to get money for my nonprofit. Well, where is that going to come from? Programs that are going to be, okay, what about school lunch? There are programs that are also going to be affected. A lot of different areas where we, in the Virgin Islands, we just don't have the deep pockets that states like California, the big states, Texas, Florida. There are even small, I shouldn't say big states alone, there's small states that have really multiple years of reserves, believe it or not, if things happen. And I saw that during the pandemic too, where there were states that were able to come up with their own state programs. Do we have the funds to do that here in the VI? I don't think we do right now. And this will stretch us, really, if we have to somehow find a way to supplement, but we can't let people starve, we can't let children go hungry. So we will have to find a way if it turns out that we go into November and they don't or they have not reached a resolution to this problem. And all of this has to do with a lot with the health care, and we don't even benefit from Obamacare.
We do not.
Imagine that.
We do not.
But we're at the mercy of this dispute.
And we're at the mercy of the Democratic Party nationally that has no power, so to speak, other than to not pass this budget. And this is, again, why, and this is national politics, this is why, again, the party they're losing more and more people to the messaging of the party. Because if you're going to let people go hungry in the sake of winning a fight,
that's not going to look good.
It's not going to look good because our politics local. But that's,
at the end of the day, though, it's really the bread and butter issues for the people, right?
If I'm hungry, I'm not voting for you. And so to bring it home here, we're going to have to be a little bit creative because one of the things, and I want for the public to understand that the government of the Virgin Islands can't just say, hey, I'm going to give you a $200. Number one, that's impossible to do to buy food. And secondly, what that does is that's taxable income. And what that will do is it can remove some people from the program. It may have some unintended consequence. So when you're thinking things through, you have to think about what the consequences will be. So while it may sound well and good to say, hey, let's give people $200 so they could go buy groceries. Once you have transferred that money to them, that becomes taxable income. And if they're right at the cusp
it can be considered a grant? Can be considered a grant, maybe? You don't think so? Find a way somehow creatively to say this is not income, it's a grant.
A grant for what though? See,
for food. I know, I understand what you're saying. The food, that's a supplement as far as the federal government is concerned, right?
And so we have to take a look at those types of definitions. And so we just have to be a little bit creative. Maybe what the government can do, and it may be a no starter. Right? Because they may come, this was only guidance
Right.
from
Right.
from, and I think that this
And it was
this-
responsible guidance. Think about it,
well,
because if a lot of people out there aren't paying
but
attention,
it's also strategic from the Republicans, and that's
no,
the
I
difference.
meant from the human services that it was great
okay.
guidance.
I talk in
from
national
we
politics
talking
here.
national, but I was I was thinking it was great guidance from human.
Oh yeah,
services
human
to let
services,
people
no
know.
doubt.
Yeah, but going back nationally,
So nationally, I think that the Republicans has projected that this program is at jeopardy, so that it can bring the Democrats to the table.
yes,
And
yes.
acquiesce on some of
Right.
the things that they're not willing to acquiesce on, because if people are hungry, people are angry. And I want to thank the local government for, after receiving the notification from the Food and Nutrition Program within the USDA, that they immediately notified
They
the
did.
public
Yeah.
and told the public, listen, we have been told that we can't process this payment, and keywords, and when I listened to what the secretary said, the national secretary,
yeah.
they said it may be impacted.
Maybe, yeah.
Not that they have made the final decision, but I
Right.
think it's a bargaining chip, and hopefully this will be, a nothing burger in 2 weeks. However, in the event that it's not a nothing burger and there's no movement on the national level, we need to prepare our Virgin Islanders to understand that. Please, on November 1st, there's nothing the Department of, if this extends out, there's nothing the Department of Human Services could do. So it makes no sense for y'all to abuse the employees at in the
Exactly.
program by
Exactly.
showing up to their workplace.
Right.
Because what some people don't know is that they're good government workers who depend on these types of programs as well.
That's right.
To assist with their families, and they have their own level of stress as well. So
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
November 1st, please don't head to Frederickstead to go argue with the workers, because this is
don't.
nothing that
Right.
they can do.
Yeah.
These monies are not local monies. Please don't go on Facebook. Don't go wherever you just go to talk
And blame the
amongst
government.
yourself
Yeah.
and blame the Virgin Islands government. Said that the government thief the money. There's no thiefing of the money going on. This is a completely federal program, and the federal government has told states and territories not to process any
You know what, though,
payments.
Jamila, it's also a wake-up call for us in the Virgin Islands going forward, because we still have another 3 years of this administration.
And it forces one to think.
And we need to start thinking
Mm-hmm.
about going forward, the decisions we make next year, especially during a gubernatorial election, the choices that we make of
Mm-hmm.
who is best fit to deal with the Trump administration, quite frankly. Going forward, we need, at this point, we're going to need leaders in the Senate and government and delegates
Mm-hmm.
who will understand that. I mean, this morning I woke up to hear that George Santos' sentence got commuted.
Mm-hmm.
Woke up to read a little more about the airstrikes on Venezuela. Very close to us.
Mm-hmm.
About troops being deployed here.
Mm-hmm.
That's something too none of us are really talking about, but I'm keenly aware
I'm paying attention.
I'm paying attention to the troops on St. Croix.
Yeah.
And there will be more troops coming in
Mm-hmm.
to St. Croix. We are moving blindly almost without realizing that every action that's being taken now in Washington affects us directly. The SNAP is a good example. The airstrikes are a good example.
And they're leaving from here.
That's right. Two different extremes, right? But we are now in the midst of this administration's decisions, tactics, military tactics. The majority of our government is Democrat. We're also really, I'm not advocating putting Republicans in power.
But we're
I'm
conservative
saying that
Democrats
we,
here in the
that
territory.
we need to know how to work with the Republican administration. And so, I believe that the governor, some people, I saw a funny post too. It was that, hey, Governor Brian, just be quiet. Maybe he won't notice us kind of thing. But it goes beyond that. we are affected no matter what, no matter whether the whatever the governor does. The governor just needs to advocate for the people of the Virgin Islands, right?
And I think that he
and
can
build relationships.
And that's what I was
Right.
about to say. Relationships matter,
Yeah.
and the ability to build relationships with
Right.
people who you may not necessarily ideology,
right?
And to your point, this I saw somebody a very young person post that this upcoming election is going to be pivotal. Well, all elections are pivotal for me, right? But it speaks to where we are, and when we go to the polls, and I want to make it absolutely positively clear this morning. I'm not advocating for one political candidate over another political candidate, but what I am saying is, number one, I'm not seeing where anybody in our community with the names floating around about who running for governor. I don't see anybody in our community particularly energized to jump up behind of any one candidate. There isn't a candidate that is appealing to the people, where the people feeling like, I just love this person. It seems all of the candidates,
all the reservations about all the candidates.
All of the candidates have there's strong reservations about each of the candidates.
That's right.
Right?
I agree.
And so it's coming down to people want to choose who's the lesser of all of the evils floating out there, unless and until somebody emerges from the ashes to move the base, and when I talk about the base, I'm talking about the Virgin Islands, people proper, into being excited about a leader that is going to want to move this Virgin Islands in the direction that we need to be moved into.
It's interesting that you say that, because in my lifetime, when you say about leaders, right? In my lifetime, I actually remember, because I actually was asked, as a student at St. Joseph High School, my history teacher was so smart. She had the entire classroom, and this is VI history that I received, which is interesting, because I hear people say they didn't have VI history. I had VI history at St. Joseph.
So did I.
And
ninth grade.
Yeah, and so we had to shadow candidates, and I had the opportunity to shadow Cyril King.
Oh wow!
And oh my God, I remember, and people may not know this. At one time, down on Christian said Wharf, there was they had the bandstand, the gazebo there, and people would just come down into Christianstead. He would be there giving speeches. That was old time, but it was so good because you felt the electricity in the air. You felt the excitement that people felt. It would just be in the air, and you really felt that, wow, this person is a leader, right? And I would say that as the years went by, there were a few people who did that, but not to the extent that I felt it when I was a high schooler. I don't know if over the years we've gotten disillusioned and disenchanted really with the people who are running. We begin to, because I feel the same way. I hear people saying this year, one young lady asked me, she said, I'm confused. I don't really know who to vote for. Senator James, you have to help me. And I said, I can only help you in the sense of helping you evaluate when we hear who the people are. And, I decided that that's one of the things that I am going to do, because people know that I announced that I'm not running. I am going to use my position as a senator. I'll be a senator during next year's election to really ask people to consider, are you voting for what? Are you voting for competence? Are you voting for character? Are you voting for compassion? Are you voting for commitment? You notice I use another C words, right? Are you even courage? Courage. Because going back to Cyril King again, former Governor Cyril King, I remember on that day, and it has inspired me for the rest of my life, he said, a day's pay for a day's work. Okay? And it made me say, you can't receive public funds as a government employee and not give the work that's necessary, perform the work. And so it was like, you get paid, a day's pay, this work. It stuck with me. And I think it motivated people to go to work in every single agency, in every single department, to do the work that was necessary to advance the quality of life of our people. So I'm hoping that I feel that way next year. I'm hoping that you know, it could even come from the candidates that are running now, where you see a side of them that you didn't see before.
Yeah.
You know, where they show you who they are, but most people have reservations about everybody, all the names that are being bantered about.
Yeah.
Which leads me, I'm not going to let you leave without saying my government candidacy bill.
That's what I was about to talk
All right?
about.
Because that's connected.
So
That's
I
connected.
wanted to. That was my segue.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
this is my segue. And so from the ashes, somebody can rise.
That's right.
That we're not thinking about
Right.
on any level.
That's right.
From the ranks of government.
Right.
Because your bill scheduled to be heard on Monday.
No, October 27th.
Is it 20?
October 27th.
Why not Avery meeting for this week? Okay,
No.
ain't no problem. Look how I given
I gotta make
Avery
sure.
Lewis wrong melee.
Yeah, October 27th.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah, Joel,
Okay.
remind me that it's
Okay.
October 27th, please.
You
That's
sure?
on Monday.
Ain't not the 20th? Why I want to believe
Oh,
I see an
Lord.
agenda out for the
I
20th?
know, no, really?
What Joel gonna tell us?
I already realized the 28th or the 21st, 22nd,
So-
23rd, any day,
Wait,
any day of the week.
somebody gonna tell us. Somebody gonna tell you or me, oh boy. It's the 27th. It's the 27th.
Yeah.
I did see on Monday, but it's Monday the 27th.
Yeah. Monday the 27th.
So and that bill is a really wonderful bill, because it allows for people, because people ask me all the time, oh, why you running for Senate? No, I running to lose weight, and as we can see, that is not working, right? But despite having had my feelings hurt by the people of the Virgin Islands, who resoundingly rejected me and had me slitting my wrist and walking around naked because y'all didn't want me to represent you.
They didn't know.
Right?
They didn't know.
Those of you who didn't think that I was smart enough to be a senator, or I didn't know what I was talking about, had hurt my feelings and said no to that girl, and had me going around Christianstead, walking around naked, and walking around Frederickstead naked. And I can't take that level of rejection again.
Well, let's get you from.
Right? Honestly, I can't afford to run.
Yeah.
When I ran, it was like Broke Woman Productions. People thought I was joking.
Right.
I could tell you, like, first and foremost, people didn't, like, there were a few people who donated to my campaign, obviously, who thought and still think that I'm a little bit smart. And then I had people, you would not believe this, but the majority of my campaign funding came from grassroots people in the St. Thomas district.
Wow, really?
They bought my stickers.
Yeah,
Karen
yeah,
K.
yeah.
Peterson, she bought all of my bumper stickers.
Wow.
My shirts were bought from some brothers in St. Thomas.
Whoa.
Because they were like, you were grassroots. Grassroots people on St. Croix supported me too, but I had such a strong grassroots St. Thomas following at the time that they helped me. And I was funny. I wasn't asking nobody for $1,000, because $1,000 don't buy access to me. You've heard me say this many times in the legislature that and so, and I couldn't afford to not work and receive a paycheck and not have the insurance. I have 2 children with disabilities. Now they and medication is expensive.
Right.
Chuck's expensive. Catheter bags, all of these things are expensive. And so I tell people,
you took a risk, man. At that time, you took a sacrifice.
and then people, but I wasn't at government at the time.
You weren't in government?
No, I wasn't in government when I ran at the time.
Okay.
So
but once in government, you realized
I couldn't afford to because at my job I could run. They had no rules and all of that. But listen, when I get into government, when Ken Mapp hired me, right, and I started to do, and I was like, wait, the insurance will pay for this, because I don't know how people who take care of people at
I don't
home,
know either, yeah.
the chucks are expensive, catheters are expensive,
Yeah.
you know, everything I used to have to pay out of pocket. And people used to be like, and I'd be watching people and be like, y'all be, you hating me? You think I what? You just don't. You must come live my life. You think my life is so fabulous? Come on down. This is the price of right. Come on down, right? But I say all of that to say I couldn't afford to run. You know, I remember the then governor was like, you should run again. And I told him, I said, listen, I cannot afford to run. I really couldn't afford to run because the insurance, medicine is expensive. And when you're working and you are making above, which is, I could tell you, you don't qualify for Medicare.
Right,
so you have to pay for that out of pocket.
That's right.
So you have to weigh the risk. And I feel like I found my calling. I could work for a senator, help propel them into greatness, write really good bills for them, and help the people of the Virgin Islands. You don't necessarily have to be the name on the ballot. And being the name on the ballot forces people to come and cuss you. I mean, people who want to cuss me, and my name ain't even on the ballot. I just got to read it. I still get cussed.
Right.
But it's your bill is good.
For people who choose to run, because the first thing I don't understand why anyone would oppose the bill. I'm going to say that flat out. You can't tell me it's unconstitutional, because that's not true.
It's not.
Okay. You can't tell me that 1,000 people will run, because that's not true. But in the VI code, even so, the VI code doesn't limit the amount of people who can run, because in a democracy, whoever wants to run can run.
Exactly.
And so you can still have 100 people on each island saying, I'm going to run, and I'm going to. You could have 100 people in private sector.
Yeah.
That you can't affect.
Exactly.
My bill can't affect, but can say that they will run. So
exactly.
I heard that, and that was a stupid argument. You can't say that because I had to do it, I mean everybody else has to suck salt. And why do we? If we believe that, then we will never.
Which is selfish.
It's very selfish, but then we will never come out of slavery, right? If you think about it.
Yep.
Okay, so it makes no sense to me that anyone would oppose it. Basically, what the bill does, it allows government employees to run for office without having to take any leave. They can take leave when they want to. For example, closer to the election, a government employee may decide, I have a week, I'm going to take off the week before the election. And then they can use their annual leave. Yeah. But that's their choice.
That's their choice.
And we have to
and this whole thing about they're going to be campaigning on government time, that's a jokey argument because, number one, you've had people who have ran for other offices other than senator, and we tell them you have to resign from being a senator to run for other office. Kick rocks, go down the road and just pass the bill. And this is Jamila Russell speaking for Jamila only.
And you can't tell me too, just like how you talk about fraud, you can't tell me that there aren't government employees, for example, during a gubernatorial year, and I will use that, who are not candidates themselves, but who during work time,
because I don't get it. Text them during the work time. Go do the government work.
Right, exactly. So come on now,
So
be fair.
Yeah.
Be equitable.
I think so. And Senator Lewis said he supported. Yay!
Senator Avery Lewis was a big supporter from the beginning, because he understood. He went through it, and that's another thing too that I love about Senator Avery Lewis. Okay, he and I have a great relationship. I don't care what anybody else say. I enjoy working with Senator Avery Lewis and Senator Clifford Joseph, but Senator Avery Lewis is my all-time favorite, and I
like him a lot too.
I really love that guy.
So do I.
He's not one that feels like, well, now I am up on the ladder and I need to pull it up so nobody else can't climb it.
Nope.
See, that's what I love about him.
Yep.
So, he's on the St. Thomas district, so I think like Senator Clifford Joseph is over here and I love him too. So, okay, I'm advocating for two of my colleagues that I really, really think they're doing a great job. you know, and it's always good. When I was running last year, I actually spoke highly about my colleagues who I felt, but I noticed nobody else does that, you know, and so going forward, right? I did it last time. I could show you appearances where I talked about working well with Senator Noel Francis, you know, working well with Senator Samuel Carrion. Last time, Senator Donna Gregory and I had an excellent working relationship, and partly through you too, because I love working with you. But, you know, there are people who you really, when you get into the Senate, who you really feel their agenda is simply to help the people. And that's how I feel about Clifford Joseph and Avery Lewis, right?
Yeah.
Two of my favorite people. I know they support my bill.
Yes.
I know that. I don't know if I have the votes, so I'm going to be honest sitting right here. I don't know if I have the votes to come out at a government operations committee. I hope I do.
I think you do.
You think I do?
Who on the committee?
I don't know.
Lewis. Clifford Joseph.
Joseph Daniel. Okay, I have 2 votes.
Clifford.
See, now maybe that's why I'm remembering.
Wait, you know what me know?
Yeah.
We don't government apps?
I don't.
I don't remember, you know.
Senator Avery Lewis will have to tell us who the committee.
Jesus,
I can't
who
remember.
the committee?
Lord Harry. I'm trying to think of when I.
So the vice chair would be from St. Croix. He's from St. Thomas. So who's the vice chair of his committee?
Noel Francis.
Okay, Noel
Francis. You know what? Senator Noel Francis supported it the last time.
Yeah, he supported it the last time.
I have 3.
So you have Avery, you have Noel,
and
you have I think Clifford. I think he's on a committee. Who are government apps? You on government apps?
No.
Who are government apps?
I am not. I think Senator Carla Joseph is on government
me see who
apps.
on government apps. I don't know.
This is a good car. I should really know, but
wait. Let me check La Star. Let me check La Star agenda thing. La Star. Who are your committee? Okay.
Right.
Okay. Oh no, Clifford is not on the committee. We are on rules.
No, he on rules. So I knew I had his votes on rules. That's correct.
It's Avery, Ray Fonseca, Francis Heiliger, Novell E. Francis, Kenny Gittins, Frankie Johnson, and Carla Joseph.
Okay, I have 2 for sure. Senator Avery Lewis and Senator Noel Francis.
I don't know Senator Johnson and Senator Gittins.
You can't commit for people.
No, I'm saying
committed to me.
I'm saying them 2 reasonable. If I were you, I would go lobby them. I'm talking about your lobbying efforts now. Yeah, right, I would go lobby them. You know, and I would lobby all of them. I mean, all I could say is no.
Well,
you know me. I lobby everybody until they say no.
I think everybody that you named were in the Senate last time, except Avery Lewis.
Yeah.
All of them were. And they didn't move.
Yeah, they didn't move. But that's selfishness. I know. But the community and the people.
I want to encourage people to come out to that hearing.
Yeah, people need to come out. That's an important hearing.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to do a you know what? Let me not.
Well, no. I rallying people right now.
Maybe you should do have a la carte. Do a la cala and invite all kind of government people in the chambers to frighten off the senators.
Well, I'm inviting them now. How about that? But no, there were a lot of government employees who reached out to me and asked me. By the way, when I in January when we got sworn in, I had a lot of people who came immediately reached out to me and asked Senator James, are you going to go forward with a government candidacy bill? And I was like, of course.
Yeah,
and then as the months go by, I would get a call, and I'm not going to disclose the people who would say to me, Senator James, I'm a government employee. I'm thinking about running.
Yeah, there are people who want to run.
Are you going to? And I said, I am going to, but I'm one of 15.
Yeah.
I am not, I believe that your work speaks for you. So if you know and you're confident in the production, right?
And that's what I'm saying. You shouldn't be you shouldn't be concerned about a government employee coming and all of the arguments about fraud and abuse and not doing the government work can be flipped to the legislature.
Right.
And so you can't want to cast blame and cast aspersions on government employees like that, and it's unfair.
Yeah.
They say, so then that you're saying that if you were a government employee, that's what you would have done. So no, allow the people to run, free up the place. Free up the candidates. So one of my listeners, Elsa Hall, she wants to know if this applies to all individuals in the territory, both in private and government. We can't write a bill. We can't write a bill. The legislature can't write a bill to force a private employer to allow a candidate to run. I don't know of any private company that tell people they can't run for office. That would be interference.
I haven't seen that happen either.
And there's a federal law that says that you can't. You can't fire individuals.
The private employer is only concern is that you come to work and you do the work.
Yeah.
And off-duty hours is yours.
Yep.
You understand? Mm-hmm. Which should be the same philosophy we have.
Yeah.
Going forward. There are people also try to somehow got a lot confused with the Federal Hatch Act.
Yeah.
And they didn't realize that it was actually changed in 2012 by President Obama.
Yeah,
by the Modernization Act, where you look at the employee, and if the employee is completely paid by federal funds, it changed. I actually have to amend my bill also because I think I have partially, but it changed to completely.
Yeah.
It has to be complete. So if you're partially, you can run.
Yeah.
But if you're completely funded, you cannot.
Yeah.
You cannot run. Cannot run.
Yeah,
I don't know if people. So that's the difference between the Federal Hatch Act and us.
Yeah.
We allow you to run. We're just saying, right now under the code.
And what that does, it's unfair because what we do is we don't have a Senate that then is representative of the people, because you would have to wait until you're no longer employed in the government, and the government is the largest employer. So you'd have to wait until you've done your 30 years, retired from the government, to be able to be of service to the people, which says that we can't have young Virgin Islanders who may have some excellent ideas running for the Senate because they happen to have hold a government job. That's wrong.
That's wrong. It's wrong. And I really hope that the community understands.
We have one more Saturday.
I hope they come out and they say, "Hey, Senator, you need to support this bill." Yeah. We need people in the community to really especially leading into next year, 2026.
Yeah. And
we
it's
need people
important
to begin to think.
And it may have a candidate, that rises up out of the ash of that.
You could have a candidate. A government employee,
which is not Jamila Russell, though. Let's just put that down there.
Right now, it wouldn't apply to me. If I were to think about it as a senator, I'm allowed to do it without taking leave.
Yeah.
I have to continue doing my work every day, and I should be doing my work every day.
Yeah.
The delegate's position and the governor's position, we could also have people in government right now who are ready, willing, and able. Let's use that.
Well, they're willing and able. They're ready.
And willing.
They're ready and willing, but they're not able because they can't afford to take off the time, and we have to provide them with the A in our raw. So for right now, they're just RW, and we need them to be raw, ready, able, and willing.
Yeah,
raw.
I like how you turn it around, but okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
But I really want the community to talk about it in the weeks leading up. Even call my office and let me know whether you agree or whether you oppose. I don't see any reason really why anybody should be against it.
It's a good bill. You know how I felt about it.
Yeah,
I mean, Donna supported it last term, but she had some reservations, and people don't know that. I was like, well, this one would be a deal breaker for me and you. You can have deal breakers. And I was like, wait. So are you saying, I mean, we had a healthy debate on this subject because, how can, and just as a staff, from a staffer's point of view, are you telling me that I'm good enough to work for you, but I'm not good enough to represent the people? When we all know how heavily people rely on staff, then that means then you don't really like me. So then I can't be ya. So
the thing is with you and Senator
no, I'm talking about all the senators who might be wanting to vote. No, their employees supposed to be saying, because basically that's what your boss telling you. I'm talking to my staffers.
Right. But at the same time, though, there would be a conflict in that situation, though. There was not a conflict with you and Senator Donna Gregory because she was a St. Thomas district and you was St. Croix. But let's say somebody in my office said they wanted to run and I was running. It would be very difficult, right? Even though, and you know why, right? You understand? Because we don't have because of how we elect people.
But
and because of how the system is set up, though.
Javon James ran out at Novelle Francis' office, and Novelle wasn't threatened.
Oh, he ran out of his office?
No, how you think people first know about Javon James? It was because Novelle gave him a job, and he used to, go to the places and but Novelle Francis to train up a lot of young men. In his office and young women. He has he to bring in a lot of young interns he does a really good job at training them. Yeah. So I just think it just and I could tell you that I never heard one bad word when that happened. Like I had never heard. And Senator Francis and I go. He never said one bad word about a boy.
But he's that kind of person, though.
He's a statesman.
That comes down to your character, right?
Yeah.
Again, so if you, for example, if somebody wanted to run and I were running my to run and be in the Senate at the same time with me because our values align, our issues align. We have sure. Yeah. But again, it comes down to the individual in that senatorial office, right?
Yeah, it's true.
The same thing. Unfortunately, well, let me not go there. Let me just leave it alone.
You leave it alone for now. But and I'm glad, and I'll definitely talk about the bill again next week before it gets heard because you know how much I like the bill. The last thing I wanted to talk with you about. And I know that, and next week, Saturday, people are going to be blazing. So, me glazing, I'm blazing this Saturday, but next week I'm going to be glazing, I'm blazing. And it is my expectation that I may have the governor up for a period of time next week. If the governor comes up, then I can't blaze and glaze like I want to. So then I have to wait another week for some blaze and glaze. But you have some blazing and glazing that need to be going on.
And by the way, the governor does support my bill.
Well, that's a good thing.
So that's a good thing. So when he comes up, have him advocate for it. That's right.
Okay. So we're trying to get him up for next week, Saturday. But one of the things I want to talk about is that there were some conversations about this Miss Grand Virgin Islands, these people who buy these franchises and put people who don't look like us into these contests. I have been of the opinion that any of these pageants that the Department of Tourism should be the franchisee for the Miss Universe, Miss Wall, Miss Grand, it have 525 pageants, right?
It does.
But the Virgin Islands Department of Tourism should actively obtain all of the franchise agreements.
That's interesting.
For these pageants because it have bad actors, people who are from here, and there's people don't know this. John Yab only come to the Virgin Islands and become a prominent Republican because he couldn't become a Republican up in the States, and now he's King Yab down here because he don't have anybody challenging him. So people come here and they build kingdoms, and build. They do it, but they go to locations where they can build up prominence and stuff, and they come here to do this, right? Yeah, so all of those queen shows, instead of us fussing on the internet, what we need to do is have the Department of Tourism obtain those licenses, and then they can put it out to bid for somebody to run that particular pageant.
That's interesting.
And so that we don't happen, because it's the same thing that just happened with the Chess Federation. You have somebody holding up chess in the Virgin Islands that don't live here, never live here, and sending her friends to represent the Virgin Islands, and they don't have a pot to piss in or a window to try it out in the Virgin Islands. And so I think that anything that has to do with the representation of a nation, a territory, in this case we're a territory, that our government needs to own the licenses, the franchises for those, and then we can sublease it to whoever else. All right.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a good point, but I
have a former queen on the airlines. So pageant veterans have been saying this for years, and it has fallen on deaf ears. So we're going to make this a reality. Use a former queen too.
Yeah, you know the thing though. Yeah.
Yeah,
but, Lord, no.
Yeah, because
well, I would be.
How somebody in Singapore gonna own the franchise for Miss US Virgin Islands and sending. You ain't know about the scandal. That's what happening. I'm gonna share the scandal about you. A man who don't live here own Miss Grand US Virgin Islands that'll go to some national pageant that'll be all over the interweb and Netflix and all kind of thing. And the girl gone up and gonna say she's from St. Croix East. You laughing? It's true. So we need.
No, I agree with you. I just don't know how when you look at all these different organizations that are privately owned. They're privately owned now. The Miss Universe. Remember, at one point, Miss Universe was owned by Donald Trump.
But what I'm saying
you need to find out whether or not
they license it though.
They do, but you purchase it.
But that's what I'm saying. I want the Virgin Islands to purchase the licenses to represent. Right. And then I think that in a case, if you have a private organization, that's fraud and misrepresentation because you're not Virgin Islands, and then we need to sue everybody who go into these things and get our name back because the name belongs to we.
Well, that's true. I mean, I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I hate. For the record, I hate pageants.
You know, the thing about it is that
I hate pageants. I don't know how these people for the pageant to keep reeling me in. I hate Queen Show.
Well, the reason that I ran was a deer. It was a deer. That's what. That's all I'm thinking about. But I will tell you this too. As Miss Virgin Islands, when you do attend, and that's where I will agree with you. When you attend these pageants, you literally become Virgin Islands. They don't even call your name.
Exactly.
They call you Miss Virgin Islands, Miss Virgin Islands, come over here. Yeah. No one ever knows your name, It's the most interesting thing. And you also, when you interact with some of these, like for example, I remember the year that I was there.
They didn't even have a VI client for that to share out.
Right. And they take, though, the queens, they take their representation of their country seriously.
That's why
that experience changed me in the sense that I became even more proud of being from the Virgin Islands because I was able to share the VI with people, talk about us.
She can't become queen in Kentucky because Kentucky have some bad queens. And she can't win a queen show. Don't come and act like she's missing Croyexy. Like she even listen.
No, but I agree with you. I agree with you that the Virgin Islands, especially when people are using our name and saying they're representing us, Department of Tourism has to have a greater stake in it than we do right now.
Yeah, and
we just need to find a way to do it.
And we need to sue them and get back our name and boot them out of the organizations. We need the Department of Tourism need to write all of them Queen Show organizations and say, listen, these people ain't from the Virgin Islands. What can we do to get the Virgin Islands to own these things? As a government, that's what we need to do. Yeah. And if not, then we make big stink about it all over. Whenever the Queen Show them happening, say there's liars. They ain't even know where the airport there.
You know what's funny though? Suppose somebody who calls it, we say St. Croix.
Miss St. Croix or something.
Whatever.
I don't know.
Actually wins. Suppose they actually
and they didn't even know where we located. They're gonna say that's in Wisconsin.
They probably won't ever come.
You know, you're St. Croix in Wisconsin.
Yeah, it does.
So they're gonna want to act like this from Wisconsin. So no. I
agree.
Back.
I agree with you.
I hate Queen Show for the record. Yeah. I don't want anybody to think that this makes me like Queen shows.
I think it's the reason why you don't like it is because of what happens during the Queen Show. What happens? There's always a lot of friction, tension. There's not. I remember one year I worked on Miss St. Croix and with Claire Roca, and that year I was in charge of
Jen coming in royally to do the changeover for no changeover.
Yeah.
Top of the hour. That's what's up.
Yeah, I remember that we made sure that it was very fair and transparent, and that the contestants knew at the end of the pageant why they were scored, how they were scored, why. So we didn't have, we did not have the drama that a lot of Queen shows have. I haven't seen one run as professionally as Claire did the year. And, the year Claire was dealing with a lot of personal issues in her family with her daughter. And that's why I love Claire Roca. At the time, I don't think I truly understood what she was going through. And then realized afterwards, oh my God, this woman is full of strength and full of grace, But that year, it was ran professionally, it was ran fairly, and the young lady represented us well.
Okay.
And, we just need to have, and that's where I think tourism would help in terms of dictating the rules, the expectations, keeping it fair. The young ladies have a great experience, and I think tourism can do that.
I think so.
They can.
And again, to reiterate, we were having some technical difficulties, being one communication. They know they're all the way down in wherever they're there, because we don't just get flip around, tossed up. It's tossed like a salad up in the Virgin Islands. But November 1st, please don't head out to DHS. I will continue every Saturday to advise you of what's happening on the national level about the SNAP. We know that our government, our leaders are going to they're very much aware of what's happening, and you have to find some kind of creative way to maybe address the issue, and address the issue from a perspective that, in light of what's transpiring on a national level, that there's going to be more of the same rather than less of the same. And so we need to be very Jen, Isaiah calling you. So okay, so I want to say, with that being said, I want to thank Senator Marise James, my girl. We get along so well.
Yes,
for coming in and bearing with me through these technical challenges. We're going to have her back. So the governor might be coming on next week Saturday. If the governor ain't come on next week Saturday, we blazing and glazing. And then we're going to bring back Senator James, because I write down some stuff in the books that I have to talk to y'all about. And don't worry, it might be a little late, but it's going to be new news when I start to talk about it. Or it's going to be repeat news that get hot all over again. I don't know how to be anybody but just Jamila. Make sure my hair looks smooth in whatever cartoons you're putting out, and make me skinny, and continue doing what you're doing. Ashley, happy birthday in advance. I love you. Until next week, bye-bye.